Hey, everybody, and welcome in. It's the Poor Man Fantasy Football League podcast. We're the fantasy football show that gives you a peek inside the life and times of our Dynasty League. I'm your host, Mike, and with me is my friend Andrew, and I would like to play you a bit of something here. I lost my spot, so bear with me as here, we'll do this. Andrew, thank you for joining the show, coming back for another week with me. Appreciate it. This week, we're going to be doing a quick review of our rookie draft. Now, we're doing that because we moved it up 2 weeks. We're supposed to do this 2 weeks from now, but everyone got,
And always
excited, I
do.
guess.
Yep.
And they wanted to do the draft right away, so they did it. And so we're going to talk about it real quick. So tonight is Wednesday, May 8th. Andrew, you're here with me.
Yes.
Your family's getting home. My family's getting home, coming in, causing a bit of disruption.
Yes.
How you doing, buddy?
Good. Crazy busy with work and everything all going on, and we're 2 weeks away from moving our offices, so everything's in chaos. So it's busy, very very busy. And how about yourself?
Okay. Yeah. Let's see. I have little to no free time at home. Work is starting to really suck up what time I have to get things done. Um, but that's a good thing, right? I get paid by the hour, so it doesn't matter when I get things done. It's just frustrating that the work just comes faster than you can get things done.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to sacrifice quality for
Quantity. Yeah.
quantity. Nope, not going to happen.
You know what? We at work are kind of the same way. We got more stuff coming in than we got going out. Um, my rep keeps signing up new contractors who keep giving us more and more and more business. There's like an apartment building going up in the West End, and this one contractor reached out and said, "Hey, can you supply us? We'll install it. You just supply all the equipment. Here's the blueprints. Figure out how much it'll cost." And we're like, "Oh, okay." Now we're a supplier, which is great. So we'll make money for doing absolutely nothing. But that's new for us. And then they came to us
Okay.
with a second project, saying, "Hey, we got a daycare. Just supply us the equipment. We'll go out and it's like a 2-story daycare. You supply the equipment and we'll do the work." So it's
Okay.
good from that perspective. But they also are giving us restaurants after restaurants after restaurants. We have another contractor out of Ontario who's just in the last month has sent us 6 sets of blueprints for restaurants opening up in Edmonton. Here,
Oh.
give us quotes for these because we want you guys to do the work. So it's super super busy that way.
Do you think it's the result of the efforts of your outside sales guy, or is there
Yes,
something else that's driving
yeah,
him?
that's what it is. Totally, it's him because he's going around to like in Edmonton. I don't know if you've really noticed, but I'm sure you have. All these new communities, all these little strip malls are popping up. There's 2 or 3 strip malls in every community, and
Yep.
he's going around to all these new communities, finding out who the builders are, and
Mm-hmm.
reaching out to them and saying, "Hey, instead of using, you know, Johnson Controls or Chubb to put your stuff in, we'll 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 work out a good deal for you, and we'll do the work for you." So it's just him going around and busting his butt, signing up new contractors, and we're probably one of the busier companies in the region. I've
Nice.
got one of the guys that used to work for me works for Johnson Controls, and he's noticed that we're taking bites out of their workload, which
Oh,
is
that's good when the
good when
competition notices
yeah,
your. Yeah.
especially an international competitor. So no, super busy. It's great. You know, I say it's great, but it's crappy when you're trying to move your office into a new location.
Okay. Yeah. At least have you received some details about the move, like when, where,
Oh yeah,
some of the
we're
conditions?
out at the end of the month. Like we got to get moved
Yeah.
before the end of the month. Um, So like the last 2 weeks will just be chaotic. I've started packing up the old office and getting stuff prepped for. Okay, I know the last 2 weeks is just going to be loading up trucks and moving stuff over and trying not to miss too much work because of it. I mean, that just comes with the territory, though. So we're going to be in a way higher traffic area, which will be good for advertising and marketing and stuff like that. So it'll be great. So yeah, I can relate to you, and you're like, oh, hey, there's more work coming in than's going out.
Well, I don't have to worry about having to transition job sites like that.
Yeah.
I do have to contend with my only field tech. The only other guy that works is getting a new van, and it arrived today. So he has to take his old van, park it next to his new van,
and move everything over.
Do the transfer, and then take his van to the dump for disposal.
Oh.
So that's going to take him out of commission for a day or two.
Yeah.
It's not the dump, but essentially it's going to the
to an auction.
To the auction. I don't even think these things can be auctioned off at this point because we've had his van, my van, and a couple other vans on the crew. We've had them longer than their life expectancy.
Oh,
they're past due, so we had to buy out the lease to keep these vans going because COVID interrupted the supply chain for replacements. So we're a few years behind on getting those. His finally arrived. Yeah.
That's always exciting though when you guys get new vehicles and new equipment and stuff like that. That's really cool.
New stuff is kind of fun. I think it'll be a point of contention because there's some senior guys that don't have new vans, that want new vans.
Yeah, well, too bad.
Making a bit of a mistake that the new guy who's only been here 2 years is getting a brand new van. It's like, well,
who's doing all the work? Who's doing all the work?
in this case, it's him. He's doing a lot of it, and the other guys are doing nothing. Anyways,
yep.
So folks, this week, Andrew and I are going to talk about, like I said, we're going to talk about our rookie draft. It just happened. Thank heavens, and bless all of you poor men league managers for being as active as you are. Andrew and I, and you guys probably experience it too, there are leagues that are currently drafting that will draft for weeks. Almost like, hey, we're not scheduled to draft until the third weekend of May. Let's start early. Okay, great. We're still going to be drafting by the third weekend of May.
Yeah.
Some of these guys are just going to sit and not pay attention because there's no time limit. It's just a nice slow draft. And I'm not a patient person. I want to draft.
You know what? From my perspective is, you know what? It's not that I'm not a patient person. It's more of if we're going to start it early, because 9 out of the 10 people were wanting to start early.
Yep.
So if we're going to start early, let's get it over and done with. Like, I don't understand where one person sits for 2 days, especially not communicating. It's one thing, like I said to you in our league, the one day, you know what, guys, I'm tied up in meetings all day long. And you put the notice out there, so nobody was complaining about from the perspective of, okay, Andrew's tied up for the next 8 to 10 hours. We know it's his pick, but you know what, he'll get to it as soon as he can. If some of these other guys in these other leagues were like saying, hey, you know what, I'm tied up with work, I'm going to be busy, blah 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 blah, then hey, no problem whatsoever. But it's when 2 or 3 days go by and nothing's going on, and are you still even alive at this point?
Okay, we are experiencing that in the No Fun League. That one of our members, no one's heard from him in a while. We're drafting in 2 weeks. The question has come up: are we able to draft early? As a co-commissioner in that league, I have okay, you know what? Let's investigate this. And we got it sorted out. It took some fact finding. The reason why I'm co-commissioner is the other commissioner, disappears for the off season.
Yeah.
And when you have things you need to do, it's hard to wait for them to come back at a relevant time period. So
Yeah.
we added me as co-commissioner so we can get some things done. Now that 9 out of 10 of us are back in that league, we're just waiting for that 10th person to respond and kind of like chime in on what's going on. So we'll hopefully, fingers crossed.
And this is where in the bylaws, because we always do all 4 of the leagues that you and I are in together, do the draft right around May 20th. Right,
Yeah,
like
I
in
like
in that area.
scheduled.
Yeah. And it's every year it's the same thing. We need to put in the bylaws in some of these leagues. If you're not back engaged and paid up, because there's a couple of the other leagues that where guys haven't been paying. If you're not paid up by May 1st, your team is considered abandoned. Unless you've come up and said, "Hey, you know what, guys, I'm just getting back into it." Like acknowledge the league that you're actually even interested in continuing.
In coming back.
Exactly. You're not just going to wait till May 19th when we're going to start on the 20th to pay your dues and blah blah blah, because guys might be trying to make trades or trying to interact with you, and if you're not there, it's frustrating. So I think in our bylaws, you need to be A, paid up by May 1st, and B, back interacting with your league mates by May 1st.
Yeah.
And if you're not, your team is going to be considered abandoned and will go out to the message boards to replace you. Yeah.
Okay.
Because we all know the
Um,
core, 7 or 8 of us that are in multiple leagues together.
Yeah.
Yes, between the end of February and the middle of April, guys take time off, and you know what? I'm going to recharge my batteries until I get back into the swing of fantasy stuff. But by the middle of April, they're starting to get back into it. They're starting their chat up. They're talking to people. They're looking for trades. They're doing this. They're doing that. They're doing the next thing. But they're there. So if you're not going to have that same courtesy to the rest of your league mates, well, then we're here to have fun, but to be organized in the same token. So
okay.
that might be something to bring up. That
I like the idea. Here's some I guess additional comments to that. I enjoy playing in fantasy football leagues where everybody is active. The more active people are, the funner the league is.
Yeah.
When you have a league where there's a couple guys that are just non-existent, non-communicative, non-engaging, non-responsive, it's like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Dynasty is to be played year-round. Redraft is meant to be played seasonally.
Yeah.
I expect guys to be somewhat engaged. A 30-day lapse, okay, sure. You know what? You take a break for 30 days, maybe a little bit longer. Okay. But I agree. Guys should be a bit more responsive.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to instituting bylaw rules to entice people into being active. And if you're not active, and if you're not involved or responsive or engaged or just around, then you should be replaced. And that should be communicated and say, hey guys, I want this to be as a commissioner. And that's a tough part, right? Because we typically only have 2 different commissioners that we are associated with. I guess 3. Bittner Steele.
Yep.
It's Peeps. And our lovely commissioner, Donnie.
Yeah.
The leagues that I belong to, those guys are commissioners of.
Yeah.
And pros about all of them, highly active, always involved, which I think you need to be as a commissioner. The No Fun League is an exception. Ron Mexico took that over because the guy who was commissioning it bailed.
Yeah.
So he inherited that responsibility. But again, guys have scheduling conflicts. It's tough, which is why I got assigned co-commissioner responsibilities.
Yeah.
I like the idea of building up your league to create excitement and enjoyment and engagement. And the way you do that is by clearly identifying how everyone should act and put those boundaries in place, and then find those league managers that just aren't engaged and replace them.
Yeah. That or even penalize them that, okay, if you're not engaged by this date, so okay, if you're not engaged by May 1st, you were the 101, now you drop to the 102. If you're not engaged by May 7, now you drop from 102 to 103. The NFL does it in the draft. If your 10 minutes runs out, you move down a spot in the draft. The person below you leapfrogs you and can take your pick.
Is that how they do it in the NFL?
Yes. If you run out of your 10 minutes, your spot is taken by the next person. And it's happened. It has happened in the NFL where teams ran out of time.
Lost the pick.
Nope. It's the next team up takes your spot.
So if I'm sitting at the 104 and the guy who's sitting in the 103 is just like, he runs out of time, it's like, all right, man, guess what? You got bumped down. Mike, you're bumped up. You're now the 103. And I'm like, oh, sweet. I get the,
yes.
Yep. Okay. Oh, interesting. All right. I'm also of the opinion that I want to give guys the benefit of the doubt. So if somebody in your league isn't communicative, then you give them a time frame and say, hey, look, it's getting to that time. I want payments to be, put in. And as a commissioner, I know Donnie's done it. I know It's Peeps does it. I don't think it was an issue in the league with Bittner Steel. I don't think there was a lagging payment issue. Anyways, in those instances, then it's okay, guys. May 1st, I need payments. So you pound the pavement, you knock on the doors, you shake the bushes. Guys come in, show up, they pay, and you move on. And if they don't, it's like, hey, man, I need that payment by May 1st. Is there an issue? Or like, what do you need? Do you need more time? What's going on? I've seen Donnie do that message out quite a bit.
Yeah. And you know what?
But if there is, then it's communicated, right? Because you're responsive, because you're there. Yeah. But if you've gone MIA, it's like, hey, all right, what's the protocol? All right, I've given you 24. I've reached out to you. I'm waiting for a response. Within 24 hours, you haven't got back to me. All right. Second step, I put you on 1 week notice. You got 7 days to get back into the league to get paid and squared up. Yeah. At which point, if you haven't, then I'm considered the team abandoned. I'm removing you from the league, and I'm finding a replacement.
100%.
That's pretty fair.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And again, if the guy communicates to you, it says, "Hey, you know what? I'll do it on the 7th." Okay,
sure. He's communicating.
You got to the 7th.
He's communicating with you.
Yeah,
he's talking to you and saying, "Hey, man, paycheck comes in. Completely forgot. My bad. Yep. No, I'll get it to you."
Or hey, you know what? I thought I had a credit on
League Safe.
On League Safe because I won 2 years. I thought I still had money. I thought it was all covered and blah blah blah. I just haven't gone in and posted it. Whatever. But again, you're right. He's communicating it. It's the guys that don't. That just go radio silence, that, you know what, if you're not going to be involved, that's not what we want. We want people that are involved and having a good time. It's not like these are $1,000 buy-ins where it's a $10,000 purse. That would be something totally different because you're dealing with lots of money.
Guys would be a bit more responsible.
Well, they would too. Yes, they would too. But it's a little bit tougher to kick a guy out of $1,000 league than a $10 league.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I agree.
So,
let's expand upon this too. By the way, now that we're talking about it, about draft etiquette, because there's some things that I see that I like, that I think that'd be great if we help propagate to other people and other leagues.
Oh, for sure.
A big thing is, after you've made your selection, you tag the next person, because a lot of our drafts are no time limit. It's like, hey, look, I made my selection and I tag at Andrew. Andrew, you're on the clock.
Well, here's the
I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I do too. But there are some instances where, like, I haven't set up my app for notification. I turn that off. Because of days like today, where you guys got very, very talkative, and you guys were doing the at all to notify everybody. But when I'm at work, I don't want my phone dinging every
Bing, bing,
20
bing, bing. Yeah,
seconds.
sure.
So I've turned off my notifications. But I do agree with you. Hey, you know what? Let's tag the next guy as the etiquette part of it, so that the guys that do get the notifications, great, they're identified that, hey, I'm up on the clock. But here's the thing. Here's the big etiquette. You're in the middle of a draft. You are in the middle of a draft. You should be going into the app every hour, every couple of hours, checking up on the status. When am I up? Oh, I'm not up for another 9 picks. Okay, yeah, I can probably go to bed and I don't need to worry about it. I'm up. I'm the second pick out. Okay, maybe I'll wait a little bit before checking out for the night, because the next guy might pick in the next 10, 15 minutes, and then I can make my pick. If you're up in the next 2 or 3 picks, you should know who you're looking to pick when it comes time when your time is due.
Given the amount of time in between some of these selections, yes, you
Yes,
should very much have a couple
yes,
guys queued up.
exactly. Like when I was teasing you about, geez, Mike, like, what are you doing taking my guy? I had 2 other guys on my list.
Yeah.
That, okay, my number 1 went, but I've got a backup because I was picking right after you.
Mm-hmm.
Really, everybody should be doing that.
Yeah.
Your whole draft.
Totally
Gee,
smart.
are you telling me your whole draft, all 5 rounds, you've only got 5 guys picked out in the league? Come on. That's not good etiquette if that's the way you're running your draft.
No, it drags it out. The moral of the story here is just, be conscious of the time.
Yeah.
Because there's a couple guys that have taken a couple days
Yep.
To get back, and that's frustrating.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess there's not much more to say than just, just be conscientious of the time that's involved. When, like, hey, I realize I pick at the 1 position or the 5 position or the 10 position.
Yep.
Okay, it's going to take some time. Usually the first round goes pretty quick, right? Everyone's excited for the first round picks. The second round kind of teeters off, and then the momentum kind of slows. And then guys are chomping at the bit, like, hey, look, man, I've checked out. I have no picks in the 4th or the 5th round. I'm out. I'm just waiting for the draft to be done so I can go back and update my rosters and dump my, player, right? Like, things need to happen. So I think it's some great etiquette when it comes to rookie drafts. Be conscious of your time, right? Don't just disappear. Check periodically. I'm fine if you turn notifications off.
Yeah.
Just don't go dark.
Yeah.
Come back, check the app. And then, tag the next guy up, because those that are receiving notifications, sometimes they don't see that ding, it's your turn to pick, or they did. My case in point, like, you're working during the day.
Yep.
Most of us probably do work during the day. You get distracted, you're focused on something, and it's, oh, hey, it's my turn to pick. Okay, I'll just give it 5 minutes. I'm in the middle of something. And then you forget, you keep moving on, and then someone tags you and is like, oh, bing, it's your turn to pick still.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for the reminder.
Yes.
I'm going to go take a bathroom break and go make my selection.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. Like, be going back on a regular basis to see when you're up. Going 2 days, and then when somebody finally says something, and then you're like, oh, I didn't realize I was up. Really? For 2 days you didn't go in and check to see if maybe?
That sounds very specific.
Well, it is. But
yeah, it is.
And it's not this league. It's another league.
No, it's not.
But it's like you said, Mike. It's about the etiquette and being courteous to the other participants.
Yeah, you're their league managers.
Yep.
All right. Okay. Well, we got that out of the way. Let's hit some news. You've added in a bunch of extra stuff on top of what I originally built.
For sure.
I'm going to let you handle the entire news section.
Sure.
Okay, you ready? And 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. We're starting up the rookie camps here right away. I believe some of them are even starting at the end of May. The non-mandatory camps.
Right.
So you had put in there, beware the hype train coming out of the rookie camps, because it always happens. It always happens. Oh, that guy's going to be the number 1 wide receiver on Philadelphia. Yeah, I don't think he's going to. supplant
he's
Brown.
climbing the ranks.
Yeah.
He's going to be somebody awesome. He's going to be amazing. It's like, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
make note of it, but just don't go crazy.
I think the only team and the only position that somebody might supplant the guy that's supposed to be the starter is the Dallas's running back.
Yeah, okay. Rico Daddle, Ezekiel Elliott, Royce Freeman.
Yeah.
I think there's one more. Deuce Vaughn.
Maybe.
Okay, great. Like, choo choo.
Yeah, exactly.
Two disasters.
Who knows who's going to be the starter there? But at any rate, you know what? Listen to the stuff, but take it all with a grain of salt. Oh, this guy broke his leg and is going to be out for 6 months. But then 2 weeks later, he's back at camp, running the field, no problem whatsoever.
Oh, he healed up really fast.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Another one which really upsets me.
We both agree.
Tyler Boyd signed a 1-year deal with the Titans. I don't.
We both like Tyler Boyd. We
Yes.
just wish he went to a better situation.
Yes, I mean, like, dude, you signed with probably the most one of the most unstable quarterback camps in the league, and you know what? Sure, you want to get paid, but
He didn't really get paid. It's only $4.4 million.
well, that's just it, right? Like, you're wanting the respect. You don't want to be that franchise tag guy. You don't want to be this, that, the next thing. Well, you just went to a team who's probably going to finish at the bottom of the league. You were on a team that could potentially, if they get their groove together, a contender for the playoffs and even a deep run in the playoffs. So, why would you? It's almost, why would you hurt yourself? It was like Le'Veon Bell so many years ago going to the Jets after he sat out the year. You're going to the worst team in the league. Do you think you, by yourself, is going to put that team on your back and carry them all the way to the Super Bowl? Not going to happen, dude.
After sitting out for a year because you didn't want to get paid, only to find out that
the team sucked.
The best deal you had was the deal you were originally offered.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. So I like Taylor Boyd. I think he was looking to, maybe he thinks he's going to be the number one in Tennessee.
No way. DeAndre Hopkins and Calvin Ridley are far.
I know, but maybe in his mind,
it's a 1-year deal.
Maybe in his mind he thinks he's better than them, and he'll be the top guy.
He could have gone to the Chargers. He could have been awesome at the Chargers.
Yes,
they needed help.
Yes, they do. Moving on. And will this kid ever learn? What an idiot! Rashee Rice is now being investigated for an alleged assault charge, stemming from an incident Monday night in a nightclub, where apparently a photographer, he beat up a photographer he was beat up so bad he had to go to the hospital. And Rashee Rice's camp will not comment on it. So obviously he must have been involved. He's going to get suspended because of the driving thing. He's going to get suspended because of this. This kid's career, in my mind, is done.
It's toast.
Xavier
Worthy's
just went to the number one. He went to the number one receiver in Kansas City. And I'm wondering if Rashee Rice this is him acting out because he saw the writing on the wall that maybe Worthy is better than he is. And he's like, I'm screwed either way. I might as well go out having fun. But I don't see where this is going to be fun, where you're going to end up up paying big fines or potentially going to jail or what have you. This is just a kid being stupid.
Poor decisions.
Yeah. So here's a question for you. If you were the Texans, would you go after J.J. Watt?
Well, he did make that comment saying, hey, if they came calling, I would go back.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Is that because you lost your job with ESPN or wherever it is that he was a host? And I'm pretty sure that's
probably why. Or is it just you are itching to get back in there so badly and you think you can still perform that he could be of help?
Maybe. I would get him on the field and have him run some drills for us. Like, hey, are you in shape? Let's see how you look. If you look good, you pass the physical, maybe we'll sign you.
Yeah. If you got a body like Terrell Owens, If you got that physique, maybe we'll talk. But I don't think JJ Watt's got that
The
physique.
team has a chance of winning,
Exactly.
right? Like you want the Texans own his rights. So if he unretires, the Texans he's got to play for them or get traded.
Yeah.
So hey, I'll just play for you. You have a chance of winning here. Let's go.
Yeah. Going down that same path, like how do you feel about athletes missing the whole year for whatever reason, and then being able to just sign with a team and playing in the playoffs? In the NHL, the Vegas Knights.
I know the example you're going here. Yeah,
the guy was hurt early on in the year, and they put him in
on IR.
On IR, long-term IR, to save the cap.
Mm-hmm.
They went out, they got a player off the waiver wire to replace him during the regular season.
Another high-value asset.
Another high-value asset. And then as soon as the playoffs came in, he was miraculously cured of whatever was wrong with him and was eligible to play in the playoffs.
Which doesn't impact your cap because it doesn't matter at this point.
Exactly. Now, the Rams, I saw a headline doing the same type of thing. Oh, maybe we'll call up Donald. Sorry, that was an Eli Manning thing. We'll call up Donald if we're in a playoff run. Okay, in my opinion, and this is just my personal opinion, to be eligible to play in the playoffs, you should have played 40 to 60% of the regular season. If you're not well enough to play the whole season, or to play more than that, more than 60% or 40% or whatever it would be, then you're not eligible to play in the playoffs. I know lots of sports used to do it that way, that if you did not play X percent of the season, you could not participate in the playoffs.
I like the competitive advantage of what that does, or I guess the challenge advantage, the competitive challenge that presents. Because if I'm a team manager and let's say my backup quarterback gets a broken leg, right? It's week 18. I don't want to play my starter. My backup goes out and he gets hurt. Oh my goodness, I don't have a backup quarterback. I made the playoffs. I need a quarterback. I'm going out to the waivers or somebody's practice squad and I'm signing somebody off that practice squad to be my backup. Because heaven forbid my guy goes down, I need somebody to start. Under your rules, I wouldn't be able to do that. I have to go with what I have on my roster. So I from the standpoint of like, you know what, Aaron Donald's sitting on IR, he's sitting on vacation, he's keeping his body pristine and healthy. Okay, great. The Rams are in the playoffs. They call him up. It's like, hey, you know what? Week 18, come out. That's your preseason game. You're going to get a chance to get back into the speed of things. We all know that players that have been playing throughout the season are far better than players coming off of the bench because you haven't played. You haven't had a snap. You haven't got into the groove of things. So taking somebody cold off the bench, someone like Aaron Donald, sure, it might take them a game or whatever or two to get back into the swing of things. So I'm not sure how much of an advantage that gives you in doing so. And I still think there's still cap hit responsibilities that teams are affected by. So if you're up against the cap, you don't really have room to sign guys off the waivers. Unless you're really sneaky with like how you move the money around to make that work.
Well, you throw a guy on IR and then you're not getting hit by his cap, right?
But you can't put a guy on IR without there being an injury.
Yeah, I suppose.
Right? Like that's so the league's gonna be like, wait a second, why are you putting this guy on IR? He didn't even play last week. Oh, that's because he's injured. He had a hangnail, so he's on IR now.
Well, I bet that's the parts that's the parts that I think this is a very, very interesting conversation to have. That could be had.
It's gamesmanship, right?
Yes.
Outside of the actual game.
Yes, but I don't think it's like, to me. I don't think it's fair.
No, they should close that loophole.
Yes, you get Nolan Ryan, probably one of the best pitchers in baseball of all time, right? He says, okay, I want to take the season off. and then goes and pitches in the playoffs and pitches, a couple of no-hitters. How is that fair?
He retires at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, and just plays just the playoffs. Tom Brady coming
and then unretires.
Tom Brady retiring and just coming back and playing in the playoffs. How is that fair? Joe Montana in his prime saying, "You know what? I don't want to play the regular season. It's a waste of my darn time. I'm just going to play in the playoffs." That
From
is
that aspect, from that point of view, it's demeaning as a fan.
Yes, that's exactly.
I think it's demeaning to some of the other players. It's like, wait a second, you can just show up in the playoffs and play, but I got to like work my butt off all year, like to get us here.
Yeah. Or Wayne Gretzky. Wayne Gretzky only playing 10 games at the end of the season to get into game shape, and then takes a team to a Stanley Cup because he's the greatest player on skates, right? That's the part I don't like about it. If you're not going to participate the whole year, and I get if a guy gets hurt week 18, a team has to scramble. Well, no, but
no. I can pull you off waivers. I'm pulling you off waivers. That's cool. That's okay.
Yeah,
because anybody could have pulled you off of waivers. But if I hid you on my roster because of a injury, and it's all part of your recovery, so you started off with a 3-week injury, but it lasted 8.5 months.
Yes,
and you came back just in time to fill a roster spot. So I could play with the money, stack my team, bring everybody back off the injury list, so I don't have to play by the money cap rules. I get that. So maybe from that perspective, you know what? If they're on your roster, the cap hit's the cap hit. You put them on IR, doesn't matter. You have to manage your roster inside it. It doesn't take that, that chunk of money, put it off to the side so you can have room to go get somebody else.
Yep.
No, you have to manage your cap with the injuries you have.
Yeah.
If that means you got to go sign a $1 guy to fill the void, too bad.
But that's just it, right? Like these teams do not have, and we'll use a quarterback as the example. These teams do not have just 2 quarterbacks in their system because they have a practice squad. So if your starting quarterback goes down, and then week 18 your backup quarterback goes down, you've got your practice squad that you have a quarterback on. Move them up.
It's kind of why you have that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, it's going to hurt you, and probably you're going to get kicked out of the playoffs in the first round. But you gotta deal with what you got. And then the last one I have up here, some guys got.
Yes, they did. Okay, let's. Oh, your browser is preventing recording. Just letting you know. Andrew's browser is preventing. I'm not sure why, but okay. So I'm gonna recap this. OBJ signed with the Dolphins. Chase Claypool left his contract with the Saskatchewan Roughriders and signed with the Buffalo Bills. And DJ Chark signed with the Chargers. Now, of the 3, I think DJ Chark is the only one I have any interest in. And I'll just wait for Andrew to come back and join me so I'm not just talking to myself. I know you guys are listening, but I'm still staring at an empty screen. OBJ to the Dolphins, I don't think that's relevant. I think that's just, it's poo-poo is what it is. There's nothing there. Chase Claypool, oh man, I would love to see him salvage what's left of his reputation. I think that would be great. I would. And okay, here we go, folks. Guess who's back? Okay, so what I was saying was OBJ to the Dolphins, Claypool to the Bills, Chark to the Chargers. I only have interest in Chark to the Chargers because the Chargers have an absolute void. And DJ Chark has the ability of being an okay wide receiver too. So I think there could be some possibility that he could be a flex guy for you. I have written OBJ off. He hasn't done anything of relevance in a while. So I don't think he's going to give anything to this team. And I would love to see Chase Claypool redeem some of his reputation, if you will, how things kind of played out for him in Pittsburgh, then Chicago. So good luck. I wish him all the best to the Bills. Maybe he'll do something, but I think he's just going to do the Gabe Davis thing.
I mean, if he's learned his not his lesson, but if he's realized what his value to the NFL is, where I'm a second or a third string guy, and accepts that.
Mm-hmm. I'm not a top 3
He's
talent.
thinking he's a top 1 talent, and it's not happening. But hopefully these guys can bounce back and have 1 or 2 more good years. But again, I wouldn't go after them. Having said that, watch me pick up a Claypool or a Chark halfway through the season.
Well, I can tell you that I've dumped. Okay, in one particular league, I have both DJ Chark and OBJ, and they are the last 2 wide receivers on my list. Everybody ahead of them I want to keep. Those are the only 2 guys on my roster I don't want. I'm afraid to dump them because somebody's going to want them. So I'm trying to get 5th round or 4th round picks.
But you know what?
So far,
where the value might come in is week 3 or 4. Like if Claypool in Buffalo, gets a couple touchdowns in each of the first 2 games, then somebody might be scrambling to grab him thinking, oh my God, he's going to have a bounce back year. So that's where that might help you. And same like all three of them might have that appeal after the season starts.
Maybe. In reality, I think what you're doing is you're hoping that week 1, week 2, something shows, and then you have the ability to move on or take advantage of it. But really, I think they're still waiver fodder. I think you're just dumping to, release. All right. Well, you know what, folks? We did come into the show. I didn't think we'd have a lot to talk about. Well, we did. We're 42 minutes in. We got some good stuff going. Let's actually get to the rookie draft. What I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see what I am doing. Share screen. Someone else is currently sharing. What do you mean someone else is currently sharing?
No.
Are you sharing?
Let me see when I click it. Yeah, it's showing the same thing to me too.
Someone is currently sharing. But I'm not sharing anything. Okay, so Riverside is playing some funny games today. Why is it?
Well, we can still talk about our draft, or how our drafts went.
I guess.
Yep.
We can still talk about it. Okay, so I'm gonna go 5 picks at a time. Okay, I was hoping to show you this. I'm not sure why this is doing it, but I'll go. Pick number 1, Marvin Harrison Jr., no surprise. Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze. Then pick 4 was my big shock. Caleb Williams. This is where Juan picked up Caleb Williams at the 104, and we're not super flex. And so I messaged him and say, "Hey man, what's the scoop?" And he's like, "I really needed a quarterback, so I grabbed one now." Okay. Well, that's what you need. That's what you grab. I just thought it was an absolute reach, considering you probably could have got him on the turnaround. But okay, you spent the 104 on Caleb Williams. Next went Xavier Worthy. Love that pick, 105. Good luck, Josh. I'm jealous that he landed to you there. Then went Brock Bowers. So, sorry, that was the first 5 picks. Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, Caleb Williams, and Xavier Worthy. The next 5, leading with Gabriel. So Gabriel had the 101. He had the 106. So easy for him to make some moves here. He didn't need to grab another wide receiver. So what he did is he grabbed Brock Bowers, which I think is a stash and hold. I don't know how he goes to relevancy right away, right? Most tight ends, they don't. So this is like a stash and hold because he already got Marvin Harrison. So I think he's doing okay. Next up, we got Ladd McConkey at 107. You know what? Out of all of the drafts, and I'm going to go back 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Out of the 12 leagues I am in, I have nabbed Lad McConkey once. Once. I have one share of Lad McConkey. And do you know
Because everybody
why
keeps
I
stealing
have
them.
one share of Lad McConkey? No, because I'm not always in a position where he typically goes. So right now, top 8 is usually where he landed. In this league, he made it to the 203. And that's the only reason why I was able to get Lad McConkey. Otherwise, he just goes way too early in drafts. So either I'm getting the Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, right? So I'm top of the list, or I'm at the very bottom. I'm not in that mid section to get where he would typically go. So I have one share of Lad McConkey, and I think this is a great situation. He's going to be essentially the star of the alpha, unless DJ Chark somehow usurps him for the top role. But I like that one. Then Jonathan Brooks, who I didn't know if he'd go this early in the first round, but he did. Jonathan Brooks went at the 108 to Bryce. Then Brian Thomas Jr. went to Donnie at the 109. And then Trey Benson made it into the first round at the 110. So to me, again, guys, Bryce and Chervin, who took these running backs, you're taking and you're stashing them because they probably won't be relevant this year. So speculative ads for the future. And that rounds out our first round. Harrison, Neighbors, Odunze, Caleb Williams, Xavier Worthy, Brock Bowers, Lad McConkey, Jonathan Brooks, Brian Thomas Jr., and Trey Benson. First round. Not bad. Kind of typical, right? These are the guys we typically see go around that. Now, going into the second round, this is where I see a massive shift. Out of all of the drafts I've done up to this point, these first 4 picks are so wild. Because it can really go anywhere. Like I said, I got Lad McConkey in a 12-man superflex at the 203, which I thought was super, super valuable. Now, in this case, Keon Coleman went 201. To you, Andrew, out of all of the wide receivers that were left, do you want to explain why you grabbed this dude here?
With the exodus of Diggs and what's his face there in Buffalo, I thought this kid could have a chance at being, the number 2 in Buffalo, or he could even carve out to be the number 1. So I just thought it was a good opportunity for him to really to make his mark. It's his to take.
Okay. So you're taking a gamble on the potential upside as being the number 1 for the Buffalo Bills. Okay. Next up, we got Chervin. Now, Chervin had quite a few picks in this draft. He took Malik Neighbors at 102. He ended up with Trey Benson at 110. And he took another running back here at the 202 in Blake Corum. So shoring up his running back room. I don't dislike the pick. I love Blake Corum. I just don't know the value that he's going to add.
I think he's going to be more of a pass catching back.
You think so? That wasn't really his calling.
Yeah,
He was
but
like so
I don't know. It's going to take him a year or 2 to break into it, I think.
Ooh. If I'm looking at Chervin's roster, what he drafted, he went Malik Neighbors, Trey Benson, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Bucky Irving, I think, running back for Tampa Bay, and Washington. So obviously he really needs to expand his running back room. That's why he took all of the running backs he did. Okay. Well, we'll keep going here. Jaden Daniels, pick 203. I don't dislike the pick here with the potential running, high-scoring QB. Pretty good. That went to Marvin, our 3-peat champ. He's gearing back up. He also had the next pick at the 204 where he took Ricky Pearsall. Now, this is a guy, I think, I'm going to go back and look. I have only a handful. Was I able to nab him? I got him, just 1 spot? No way. I thought I had him at least 2.
I didn't mark him down as a guy to go after because A, I figured everybody else was going to go after him, but B, he's going to have a tough time cracking that lineup. There's so much.
It's like wait a year or two
But
for a
that
shot.
that wide receiver locker room isn't that old, so it might take him more than a year or two.
No. Okay, so I'm under the impression that if you drafted Ricky Pearsall in the first round or top of the second, wherever he went, it's because you think one of your current star wide receivers, Brandon Ayuk or
And
Debo Samuel, is going to be
that's
gone
quite
next year.
possible. That is quite
Okay.
possible. But
Yeah,
it's a big risk that you're taking for a high pick.
it is.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, I only have one share of him, so not a guy I have a lot into. All right. Next up is a very interesting ad. He went in the 4th round of the draft, but is somehow jumping guys that went in the second, the first, the second, and the 3rd round, and that would be Troy Franklin, wide receiver for the Denver Broncos. Went in the 4th round of the NFL draft, drafted here by Donnie at the 205. He went, next up was Xavier Legette.
Surprised he didn't go higher.
Then Jermaine Burton.
Yeah. I thought he would have
Xavier
been
Legette?
at the end of the first or beginning of the
Okay.
second. But
Yeah. So he went, okay. So Xavier Legette, Jermaine Burton, a wide receiver for Cincinnati, Jalen Polk, who I have way too many shares of now that I look at it. Then JJ McCarthy, you snake.
yes,
That was you who took him.
I
was hoping he'd make it into 3rd round.
my
but
thought
nope.
process behind him was I'm taking him because if he's gonna be the starter. Maybe not week 1, but he'll be the starter by the first quarter.
He'll be week 1 starter.
And if he gets super hot, I'm looking at trade maybe because I have 2 other stud quarterbacks. Yes,
You do. You got Patrick Mahomes and CJ Stroud. So to me,
I just thought, you know what? Maybe I can get some good picks for next year. To somebody that might like you look at Donnie at the end of last year when he didn't have a quarterback because some of his guys got hurt. You know what? I could have traded McCarthy. I could have traded Stroud to him probably for his first 2 picks. Right? Work a deal somehow. You know, if McCarthy does really well, you know, it's or if Mahomes gets hurt, then I could throw in either Stroud or McCarthy, right? Or vice versa if somebody else gets hurt.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, well, let's keep going here. So, 2nd round, Keon Coleman, Blake Corum, Jaden Daniels, Ricky Pearsall, Troy Franklin, Xavier Legette. And I'm just going to tell you right now, I have a lot of shares of Xavier Legette and Jalen Polk, Jermaine Burton, Jalen Polk, JJ McCarthy, and Adonai Mitchell rounded up the 2nd round. Top of the 3rd round, no surprise. This guy seems to go right here. He's either at the end of the 2nd or the beginning of the 3rd. Is in Roman Wilson to Pittsburgh. I think this guy has a great chance of rising up to the surface. So he might be one of those steals of the draft. After him comes Jalen Wright, running back for Miami. Then the first, or I guess the second tight end off the board is Ben Sinnott, tight end to Washington. I was hoping to snag him because I like to grab at least one tight end in the draft just to kind of like put on the taxi squad, see how they age. Nope. Marvin grabbed him, and then he grabbed Malachi Corley, who seems to be getting a lot of hype right now. So remember in your news section, I said, take it easy on the hype train, folks. This is a guy who is climbing up draft boards because he's getting a lot of news and buzz. He's apparently living with Aaron Rodgers on his property. So, okay, hopefully they're having breakfast together and can build that Cooper Kupp, Matt Stafford connection, right? All right. Next up, Drake May went 305. Then is this Ray Davis? Yeah, Ray Davis goes 306. Bo Nix 307. Luke McCaffrey, my selection at 308. Yes, I sniped you back. Who is this guy? Audric Esteem, 309. And then Javon Baker at 310. I actually have a lot of shares of Javon Baker because this is where he falls. For some reason, I've picked up way too many New England Patriots tight wide receivers, Jalen Polk and Javon Baker, usually in the same draft. I'm like, oh, dude, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Hopefully, one of them makes it. Okay, then we're getting into like the who cares realm, the rounds 4 and 5. But we got Marshawn Lloyd, Bucky Irving, Jatavian Sanders, tight into Carolina. Then we have Jalen McMillan, who I think is also a sneaky pick. So congratulations, Juan. Then I selected Michael Penix Jr.
And
with
you
my
made
fourth round
you
selection
made the
of
comment, oh, I
405.
feel sick even having to make this pick. But here's the thing.
Yeah.
And I wrote something down in my notes here that I had for the show. Because we were talking about our picks. It's still a smart pick for a future quarterback, because you got 2 old man Rivers on that team as quarterback right now. They're not going to last 2 more years, if they last 2 years. So this Penix kid could walk in and be the starter next year, or even take the role this year. So it might not be that bad of a pick, middle of the 4th round, right? So it could be a good pick for you.
Well, it could be. I fingers crossed, right? I wanted to leave the draft with guys to put on my taxi squad to kind of hold and see where they go. All right. Next up at the 306, we got Tyrone Tracy. Kamani Vidal at 307. Will Shipley at 408. Sorry. Walker at 409. Brendan Rice at 410. Braylon Allen at 501. Malik Washington 502. Dylan Loeb at 503, running back for the Las Vegas Raiders. Then we have Theo Johnson landing at the 504. Eric All 505. I'm going to get this guy's wrong. Isaac Guerrero. Yep. He went 506. Rishi Ali, 507. My secret pick, Luis Rees-Zammit of the Kansas City Chiefs.
The experiment.
The rugby football player. He was my, I grabbed him. And then Frank Gore Jr. and then Jacob Cowing. So overall, to me, the last 2 rounds are just your shots in the dark. But we have found diamonds in those roughs. Jerome Ford, Slick has recently pointed out Jerome Ford,
and there was one other one there. I can't remember what it was. Yeah,
there was somebody else that he had mentioned. So that's awesome. When I look by player, right? So in this case, Marvin had the first overall pick. In this draft, he took Marvin Harrison Jr., Brock Bowers, Roman Wilson, Marshawn Lloyd, Braylon Allen, and then J.K. Crowning. Not bad. All right. For having your 3 selections.
Yeah, Gabriel. Oh, I thought you said
Gabriel.
Marvin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry.
No, he took Marvin Harrison Jr. with his first pick. Yep. Yes. Okay. Next up is Chervin. He had the 102. So Chervin, he went, like I said earlier, took Malik Neighbors, Trey Benson, Blake Corum, Jalen Wright, Bucky Irving, all running backs, and then rounded off with Malik Washington. Marvin, who's trying to get back into the saddle, he took Rome Odunze, Jaden Daniels, Ricky Pearsall, Adonai Mitchell, Ben Sinnott, Malachi Corley, Will Shipley, and Dylan Lobb. Marvin, I like you, but I hate you because I think this is a really good draft. I think some really good selections, because when you look at his roster, he's taking advantage of guys on his roster and grabbing the backups. So Lobb and Shipley are backing up running backs already on his bench. Okay, great. Love that. Ben Sinnott, you don't really need a tight end, but you got one for the future, because now you've got Cole Kmet, Mark Andrews as your starters. You got a guy to stash. Ricky Pearsall, Adonai Mitchell, guys that probably won't rise to the surface this year, but looking good next year. And you got Rome Odunze, he was my number 2. So you got him at the 103. Congratulations. I really like it. Juan, sitting at the 104 spot. Interesting selections. He took Caleb Williams with his first pick, Bo Nix with his second pick, Jalen McMillan, Brendan Rice, and Trey Johnson.
Yep.
Or Theo Johnson. I got a feeling Juan's probably going to be looking to do some trades to pick up some other assets this year if he's going to compete, because it's not looking good. Not looking good. I realize you needed quarterbacks and you took 2 shots here, but I think you missed out. You took shots you probably could have got later. Anyways, Josh, who has been active on the trade market, man, he's been hustling out there, and he took Xavier Worthy. Then he took that followed up with Drake May, Ray Davis, Javon Baker, Jatavian Sanders, and Trey Tracy. Yeah, I like that. That's not a bad little grab for where you had your picks. You got a little bit of everything. You got essentially my Gordie Howe hat trick of what I look for when I come into this draft. You got
Yeah.
one of every position. Perfect. Bryce traded out quite a few. Didn't have a lot of picks to work with, but he did end up with Jonathan Brooks, Xavier Legette, and then that Isaac Guerrendo. Guerrendo? Yeah, whatever. Bryce, because of the number of shares I have with Xavier Legette, fingers across, man, he hits. Here we go. Xavier Legette is going to be legit. Ah, see? Bad joke. Then my selections, I got Jalen Polk, Luke McCaffrey, Michael Penix, and Lewis Reese Salmon. Yeah, not a super strong draft.
Yeah, you missed
I'm fingers
Slick.
crossed, man. That's what I'm wishing for.
Oh,
Nope, I didn't. I just ignored him
why
altogether.
you're afraid of him?
Mm-hmm. No. So Slick, he took Lad McConkey, Jermaine Burton, which I thought was a really early grab because in some of the earlier drafts, he went undrafted and people picked him up off the waivers. So I'm curious to see what happens here with Jermaine Burton because, again, he's sitting behind two really good wide receivers, probably a guy that could take a shot and move up next year. And then two late round running backs and Eric All tight end. So really, I like the Lad McConkey pick, 107. The rest of it just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's okay. You, Andrew, Keon Coleman. I wish you all the best with Keon Coleman. I have a single share of Keon. I have lots of shares of JJ McCarthy. Oddly enough, I picked him up in probably far too many places, but I did. And then I don't know.
Yeah.
The rest of you
guys
guys
the only one. Yeah.
That's my opinion.
They were more for like looking at Frank Gore. It's a future. It's a future hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At a backup role. Right? Because he signed undrafted.
No.
Like he didn't get.
And Estem, same thing, was kind of a, hey, I want to just stash you away and see what happens.
See if he can become a backup to Javonte. I get it. All right. And then Donnie, who somehow traded away most of his picks, but then got picks back. He had Brian Thomas Jr. at the 109. Okay. Wide receiver, young wide receiver. Donnie's team is very young, very talented. And then Troy Franklin, which is probably the second surprising pick that Donnie reached so far for a guy that went in the fourth.
My biggest thing for my draft was really making that trade with Donnie.
Yep.
The day before the draft, where I to give him the 109 because I picked up Brown from Philadelphia.
Who?
Not AJ
Brown.
Who did I grab?
No, you didn't. Because I have AJ
back
Brown.
to the trade here.
You didn't get him. Yeah.
What
did you trade to give up the 109?
That was a couple of weeks ago. You're gonna probably find it before I do.
Just go to your team. Look at your roster. League. You can go look at just sort by trades.
You can do that in League?
Recent activity. Yeah, so you know where you can see matchup, team, league, player, trend, trades, scores. If you hit League, it shows you the week one.
Yes, every year you and I got this
one. By the way, we seen that's what we draw. You can go down to the very bottom where it says recent activity. Click view all, and then you can see all of the actions that have happened as of late. So, for example, Marvin traded Evan Hall and a 2024 fourth for 2 fourths with Josh. And then Donnie traded Trevor Lawrence for Justin Herbert.
I'm just trying to find that trade him and I did.
Then Bryce traded the first round draft pick with Josh, or to get the first round draft pick from Josh, and gave away a DeAndre Swift and a 4th rounder. Josh got Zamir White for a 2nd round pick. And DeAndre Hopkins and a 2nd rounder. For your 109.
Oh yeah, so I moved down 2.
You got DeAndre.
I moved down 2
in a 2024 second.
I got Hopkins, basically.
Yeah. So you got.
Sorry, it's in another league that.
And landed.
It's in another league that.
And DeAndre Hopkins.
That somebody was offering me, the Philadelphia guy. Sorry, my mistake. Ooh. It was for the 101.
I'm surprised you didn't take that. All right. You're welcome.
Yeah.
The 101?
Yeah.
Crazy. No, Marvin Harrison Jr. all the way.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, that brings us to the end of this show. I know it kind of dragged out way longer than I expected it. I thought we were going to blow through this, but we had other stuff to talk about. Excuse me. That's it for this week's show. Thank you very much for watching, listening, following us. You can get a hold of us on all of our social media platforms. Poor Man Football, all one word. Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. We're also broadcasting this on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. It's fantastic. Next week, we're going to get back together May 15th to do the 2023 rookie draft redo. Because we love drafting so much, we're going to go back and beat ourselves up on what we did last year and how poorly we drafted and all the terrible selections. And I'm going to give you a precursor. We made a lot of really bad selections. We're only going to recap the top 20, and I could barely get 20 guys that I would want to have on my
team. There's some guys that did not pan out.
I had to scrape the bottom of I had to scrape the bottom of the barrel to say, hey, here's how we drafted. And here's how I'd rank them going into next year. And there is a hard line where I just stop. I don't want any of these guys, but I got to round out this list. So I rounded out the list.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. Yes, having a crystal, having that 2020 hindsight, right? Hindsight would you have drafted Puka Nacua higher? No, probably nobody would have. Who would have thought he would have clicked like that? Right? Nope. So it's tough.
And the only reason why Donnie did was because he picked it was a homer pick. Right? And his homer pick turned into a home run.
Your tight end in Detroit. Who would have thought? You know, he would have been a top 5 tight end. Exactly.
Nobody. Which is why I took him as a homer pick.
It'll be an interesting conversation.
We'll go over that next week. Yeah, it will be. All right, folks, you have yourself a great night. Remember, from one poor man to another, if it's not fun, it's
have
not
a great week,
it.
Everybody.
Good night, everybody.